A 100-pound man on a 1,000-pound horse. A tiny silhouette pinned to the back of a giant powerhouse of an animal. Locked in a clonic duet at 40 miles an hour. A team of physicians and physiologists conducting tests in Los Angeles concluded that the Jockey may well be the best of all athletes, that he possesses in proportion more of the qualities that define athletic ability. Greater stamina, greater strength, better coordination, and better reflexes than any other. But the jockey's position in life is not nearly so well defined. The smallest of athletes, indeed of all working men, he may also be the least appreciated and probably the least understood. Their image is confused by stereotypes. Their lifestyle itself seems incongruous. If it is true that jockeys arrive at the track in the longest, sleekest automobiles money can buy and drive away with the tallest, sleekest blondes they can find, it is also true that in the swirl of affluence that surrounds them, they live in a world apart. In this separate world, this crucible, there is really very little glamour. There is not even a whole lot of money. For the articulate, talented few with names like Arcaro and Shoemaker and Coffin, there are fortunes to be made. But for the vast majority, it is a struggle to pay the bills. The average jockey makes less than $25,000 a year and is locked in, his education usually limited, his interests and horizons narrow. For many, life in the fast lane is a bad trip. More than a few who made it big, who won big and lived high, died broke. Earl Sandy, who won 3 Kentucky Derbies, lived his last days eating out of tin cans in a tiny room over a Long Island railroad station. The image of the freewheeling little man on horseback, unable to cope with the world at ground level, is not easy to erase.
All right, let's get ready. Let's get going here.
There you go, buddy. Hey, let me wash my face.
Okay, Jock. 16 minutes. Let's go.
His size alone makes the jockey an incongruous figure. Everything he does is qualified by his smallness. In a society that glorifies muscle and girth, he is almost impossible to identify with. Football heroes make movies and do beer commercials. Jockeys chew diet bubblegum. Moreover, in his occupation, the jockey plays what is essentially a secondary role to an animal. Even some horsemen are not sure how important a role that is. Some believe he is just an incidental figure, a kind of glorified pilot fish having no more than a marginal influence on the success of the horse he rides. But because he is human and can think, and because in his hands are the reins that can keep the horse from being successful, the jockey is the object of a lingering suspicion, as though he were up to something that might not be too complicated, but is certainly corruptible. Probably the thing that is least understood about a jockey's life, the thing that separates his work from all others in professional sport, is an element that even track regulars seldom come to grips with. The element is danger. A potential for injury that is the most severe in sport. Every jockey who rides shares the knowledge that sooner or later he will be a part of a terrible avalanche of flesh, literally tons of flesh hurtling down. An ever-present threat that is all but lost on the awareness of track patrons, because when it happens so quickly and so far away and seems so impersonal that it flashes by almost unnoticed. When jockeys and horses fall, whistles do not blow, time is not called, the race is not stopped. Jockeys go down and the race goes on. Since 1940, 105 riders have been killed in racing accidents. There were more than 2,000 accidents in American horse racing last year. The result was that 1,500 jockeys were hospitalized for 2 weeks or more. 4 survived as paraplegics. 4 did not survive at all.
Hello, Jock's room. No, he doesn't ride today. Call back Monday. Thank you.
In recent months, thoroughbred racing has been rocked by allegations of widespread race fixing. Organized crime has been linked to racing scandals in 6 states. It is part of the irony that surrounds their lives that it is only at such times that the sports world realizes how little it really knows about jockeys. In itself, the jockey's room is a contradiction. Football players and boxers do not share common quarters with opponents who will soon be turned against them in cutthroat competition. Jockeys do.
How are you, Harry? Good, just fine. How'd you do yesterday? I forgot to look.
Finished third.
Yeah?
Kind of good, sir.
Good. The horse on all right?
That horse ain't got no speed, Bobby, at all, man. The man's ago, he just, boom, he was in front.
My horse only won 1 race. This is a mile and a half. That was only a mile. Let's consider that.
Kelly! Telephone.
They relax together here, suffer their weight problems here, and sometimes they fight each other here, relieving their frustrations. You know, jockeys have one common denominator. They're little guys. Their size is their ticket to affluence. But even in this, there is an ironic twist, almost too cruel to contemplate. The very thing that separates him from the average working man and helps make his fortune also confines the jockey to a purgatory of weight watching. The trick is not to be small. The trick is to stay small. The ordeal begins here with this unsympathetic monster, what some jockeys call the oracle. It is as important and permanent a factor in their lives as is the compass to the mariner. It is a reminder and a relentless goad.
I mostly tell by my left hand. I can look at my little finger and tell if I'm heavy or if I'm light or if I have to go to the hot box or what. It's a funny thing. In my right hand, I couldn't do it. But my left hand has been such a habit. I'd have a ring on, and when it was loose, I was light. And when it was tight, I was heavy. And it's got to where I notice my hand so much, now I can look at my finger and tell when I'm heavy and when I'm light.
For most racing events, a jockey cannot weigh more than 118 pounds, and that includes the 4 pounds of clothing and equipment he must carry. For the borderline jockey, the pressure of having to make weight is accented by an irrevocable law of the trade. If the weight does not come off the jockey comes off the horse. The tyranny of the scales is translated into a never-ending battle. A battle not against fat, because there are no fat jockeys, but against precious ounces of body fluid and flesh and even muscle. The trackside term is pulling weight. To pull weight, the jockey diets, munching on shreds of lettuce. He gulps diet pills and diuretics and spends hours in the torture chambers of weight extraction, sweating off whatever surplus he can find. The box is a steam room where the temperature reaches 180 degrees. It is, for many jockeys, a second home. Once, when emerging from long minutes in the box, an aging jockey was heard to cry, "That ain't sweat, boys, that's beads of gold." Jockey Eric Guerin once estimated that he lost 20,000 pounds in a 34-year riding career.
Want some eggs? No. Would you like some eggs?
No, I'll give you eggs. You can't take it.
Gamborina, you don't offer to me.
Right, get back in the box. You got to do lighter weight. Get back in the box, Bob. Back in the box.
But making weight is not necessarily an assurance that the jockey will ride. Many trainers and owners believe that jockeys who put themselves through such torture wind up lacking stamina, that there is a fine line between losing weight and maintaining strength.
Oh, I'm going to breeze right through it. I'm going to get in the whirlpool for about 10 minutes, and that'll get my blood hot enough inside me where it'll open all my pores, and I'll get in the steam for 10 or 15 minutes, and come outside and lay in the sun, and I'll be ready. I pulled 2 pounds in a steam room or a sauna where you're closed in. And went out and I rode the first floor. And as you're riding, you're reducing your sweating too. Now there's no control over saying, well, I'll pull 2 pounds, I got 1 more to pull, I'll ride 4 horses and be set. Well, if you have to work a little harder on one, you might be pulling 2.5 pounds. So I wound up with a muscle spasm in my arm from pulling all the potassium out where it wasn't functioning quick enough to what I was used to. So when I went to Japan, I learned that I adjusted more this way, and it's been much easier for me, and it took no bad toll to me, and I'm relaxed, and I don't feel a loss of any strength. That morning I'd taken a diuretic, which I never do. It's a water pill. And then I went into the sweat box, and I had to take off about 5 pounds. And I was just about done. I came out, the hot box, and I sat down on a bed, and everything started to get black, and my muscles started to cramp up from a loss of salt in my system, potassium. I called the doctor, and he gave me a couple of potassium pills, and I washed them down with a couple of glasses of orange juice, and I was fine.
Come on, back, Square.
Almost any jock can pull a couple of pounds a day by going through a routine of hot showers and time in the box, then lying under a heavy coating of rubberized sheets. For some, this is an everyday ritual.
I've probably been eating too much, drinking too much.
Well, why don't you watch what you put in your stomach?
Oh.
Put yourself on a diet.
The weather been nice, everything been nice, and I get thirsty and I drink a lot of liquids.
You know, you're not a kid anymore. It's tough taking the weight off.
Well, the older I get, the tougher I'm gonna get.
Yeah, well, see what we can do about it. Put yourself on a diet.
Diet, I've been on a diet
This is getting a little too rough for you.
for 18 years. I've been on
I
a
know
diet.
it. You and a couple more.
Well, that's part of the business.
Look at these. No, here's the head. Take the head. Squeeze it like that and suck the juice out. Like this? Well, I'll show you. Yeah. Take the head out first. Look, you take like a lobster. Take it apart. Take the head and go like this. Yeah. Squeeze the head. Break it. Suck all the juice. That's it.
Like
now
that?
you take the tail.
Not all jockeys have weight problems, and not all jockeys diet. For those who do, however, food can become an obsession. They go on eating binges into orgies of consumption. For these, there is an alternative to dieting that is not likely to be found in polite society. They eat, then they throw up what they eat. They call it flipping. Jockeys accomplished at forced vomiting, who can do it almost routinely, are called flippers. Donnell Brown is a flipper.
You eat an enormous amount of food, drink some liquids, and you go throw it up, flip it, whatever you call it, heave it, whatever.
Oh, my God, you're in trouble, man.
A jockey named Wayne Chambers once brought a watermelon about this size into the jockey's room on race day. He sliced it and began to eat. Other jockeys came around acting hungry. Chambers warned them off. He said he was going to eat the whole thing. And he did. And when he got on the scales, he weighed 122 pounds. He had gained 9 pounds. So he walked directly to the bathroom into a stall set aside for flippers and vomited for 5 minutes straight. When he came back and got on the scale, he weighed 113. He had gained 9 pounds in half an hour and lost it in 5 minutes.
All right, I think we did just good, man.
I hope so.
Let's see. This is the end. You're not going back anymore.
No, it's good.
Okay, let's see what we do.
Finish, Si.
Good.
Turn the hat.
Flippers are held in a kind of repulsed awe by non-flippers. A prominent jockey named Bobby Ussery was a flipper. He said it never bothered him to eat a big steak for dinner because it never bothered him to throw it up afterwards.
Let out that 104 now. 3.5. See? Hey, do me a favor, cousin. Tell them to give you a popsicle for Brad. Yeah, I do that. I like to eat. Most jocks can't eat. You know? They eat, they get fat. Simple as that. You go to a place where they say, oh, you can eat for such and such, and you get them to throw you out. That's it. You and about 2 other heroes.
Have you ever done that?
Yeah.
Where?
Long Branch, New Jersey. At a spaghetti place right on the beach. All spaghetti you can eat. Well, I was Italian that day.
Heck, I was always glad I stayed so, because I wanted to ride. I knew what I wanted to do.
Americans are getting bigger all the time. The number of naturally small American males, men like Eddie Arcaro and Bill Shoemaker, steadily dwindles. The result in horse racing is that many of today's jockeys come from impoverished Latin American countries where the nutrition levels are not as high, and a small man can count on staying small. But whatever their origin, jockeys almost always share a common background. They come from rural settings close to the soil, from the backwaters of empire, the dirt tracks and bull rings of 100 places, places with names like Dilton, Oklahoma, and Jasper, Texas, and Soap Lake, Washington. And here the town of Walton, Kentucky, population 1,000. Steve Cawthon was raised here, the son of a Walton blacksmith.
When I decided to become a jockey, I talked to my father, and he said that he would help me as best he could. What he didn't know, he would find somebody to teach me. I started practicing whipping on a bale of hay so I could get my hitting a horse right. I'd go to the track and I'd breeze horses to get my judge a pace. We watched a lot of movies and films of races so that I could understand what kind of strategy jockeys used. It took 4 years, a lot of help from other people. It all turned out, and that's when I started riding.
Cawthon is typical of American jockeys. Jockeys who learn to ride about the time they learn to walk, who would rather ride than go to school, and who, more often than not, will forego the latter in favor of the former. To get ahead, they are not above serving as stable hands and exercise boys, not too proud to rake straw and clean shed rows and shovel manure. Young men out of the factory and off the farm, unafraid of menial labor. This is Abbeville, Louisiana, the grassroots of race riding. In places like Abbeville, beer cans pop with the thunder of hooves. Bets are made in at least 2 languages, English and Cajun French. And races are measured in yards and even feet, not furlongs. There are no patrol films, no stewards, no tote board at Abbeville, just you and me and our 2 horses, winner take all. Ray Broussard is 41 years old. One recent morning, barely daybreak, Broussard called his agent and said, "I quit. Take me off the horse. I'm getting out while I'm still in one piece." Broussard had ridden for 25 years. He always had a weight problem. He had also broken both his knees, both arms, his ankle, and once at Jamaica had had 10 horses run over him. One of them fractured his neck. With all that, race riding is Broussard's true love, and it remains so. He now wants to teach others to ride. He is doing it here, where it all started for him 25 years ago.
The guy who had the farm right next to us had a few quarter horses. And he used to see me ride around, and he decided to try me, you know. And I used to get up in the mornings, work these horses before going to school. Well, when the winter meeting opened up at the fairgrounds, I went with the horses to gallop them. I wasn't old enough to ride. And after the meeting was over, he sent me back to the farm here with the horses, the thoroughbreds and the quarter horses, and he wanted me to ride quarter horses again all summer. And I didn't want to do it. And he had a contract, a 5-year contract on me, to where I couldn't work for anybody else because he had the contract. So I decided not to work for anybody. But I had it in the back of my mind, I wanted to leave. So he knew this man that had those horses going to New York. He called him up and says, I can't do anything with this kid, maybe you can. He gave me a $20 bill when I left New Orleans, put me on a train, and I was going to New York. I was scared, but that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to get out. When I got there, I gave him the contract I had, and the man, I guess, was embarrassed or something. And he tore the contract up and wrote another one. He was giving me $300 a month, room and board. Well, $300 a month to me from $20 a month was, man, I was rich. And I stayed that way for a year until I broke my maiden. And then he signed another contract, giving me $1,500 a month and 10%. The money I got out of Jock's room, he held, he kept, and put it in the bank for me. And I rode that whole year in New York when I was first and second lead rider. So I finally got to talking to him until he finally gave me my bank books. And I had a little over 100,000. And naturally, I wanted a car. And I wound up with 3 cars that winter instead of 1. And I just went through the whole money, partying, because all of a sudden I had all this money, access to it, and I was young, didn't know what to do with it. And I thought it'd never stop, and I just blew it all. I was busted by the time the winter was over. But I was lucky. I made it again, which there's not too many riders that it happens to, where they have a second shot.
High step feet will be fired to number 5 next.
Riding these kind of races, it gives you an idea of balance your horse. You don't do too much handling on your horse. It's not like a thoroughbred. Here, you just sit on him and whip him and hope he's running fast enough to beat the other guy. You can't be scared. Forget about being scared. I mean, it's out of the question. When you fall, it's very seldom the horse that you own hurts you. It's the ones that are behind you, and you have a whole bunch of them behind you running over you when you fall. And there's certain ways when you fall, you gotta, I know it's hard, it feels funny, you know, you don't stiffen up, but that's the worst thing you can do is stiffen up. Because when a horse hits you and you stiff, he'll break everything he touches. I'll teach you all the experience I've had in 25 years. And you never know too much about a horse, or about your competition, the rider that's next to you. You do it to another rider as much as you can get away with without getting caught. In other words, if you get caught, you get suspended 5 days or things like that, or they disqualify you. Learn everything before you win your first race. You school yourself good. It'll probably take you 6, 7 months before you ever win your first race. But you ride races, you ride horses that you can learn things on. And if you learn how to switch sticks from one hand to the other without dropping a horse's head, I'm going to teach you all of that. It's very simple, but you have to do it. You have to experience everything to learn how to do it. I was raised with his father. His father was my age. And when I showed up here this year, he asked me to talk to his son about riding thoroughbreds because he doesn't like school. And
it was done with me, so why shouldn't I help some of these riders from here? Try to improve them and teach them whatever I know. He's forward, and he's got spunk, you know. He tells it like it is, and some other kids are not that way. They're quiet, they don't, there's not there, you can feel it, you know. There's no tribe in them, you know. They're not getters. He could care less about school. He's like horses, which I was the same way. Once you get that blood, you know, around horses, being around horses, you won't leave them.
Got 3 young waiting on one. Let's go, Rick. Come on, man. I'm gonna get my horse out of here. Shit. Get that horse, man. Okay. Come on. What the hell's going on, man?
A young jockey plays the game wherever it's played and whenever. He rides in the relentless heat of a Louisiana summer, his nostrils clogged with dust, his horse untrained and not much better than a renegade, and he rides in the dead of winter in faraway places wearing foam rubber inside his silks and saran wrap inside his shoes to protect against the cold. For Bobby Gaffleone, it began here 28 years ago. A little out-of-the-way track called Fauner Park, 100 miles west of Lincoln, Nebraska.
How does it feel to be a little farm boy and go back there and do all that good?
Feels really good. I ain't done that good, but...
Well, you've done pretty good.
Yeah. No,
Everybody back here thinks you've done awful good.
I really feel good about it. I really do. I win the first race that they run here. When they first built the track. And it was snowing. It was snowing then. And it was cold. You know, the people up here, they're so far away from the races. I guess they used to go to Lincoln all the time, but they didn't know much about the races. So they had a parade the first day. They had all the jocks get in these cars and go down through town. And it was cold. It snowed the first day. I used to hide in my mom's car. I hid in my mom's car one day before I ever started school. She looked and looked all over for me. That's when I was in kindergarten. That's how I remember it. And we had these seat covers in our car, you know. And I hid down underneath the back in the back seat, and she drove all over and drove all over. And I never did learn where I was at till too late. And she had to get to the races. And so I got to go to the races.
You just live down there and stay now?
Yeah. I leave there once in a while. Go up.
Bobby Gaffleone is 44 years old now. He has raised 4 children. One of them, Steve, is also a jockey.
I just grew up around racing. My grandfather raced horses, and my folks raced horses, and my brother-in-law even rode. So I just grew up with it. Ever since I remember, I wanted to ride. And when they bring the horse home in the wintertime, me and my brother would make us a cardboard saddle and get down one end of the fence and run them all the way up to the other, you know. Stop the sudden start. You know, that was really a thrill then. Yes, since I was about 9 years old until I started riding, I'd work in the jockey room. And I really learned a lot then. It makes it hard trying to break these babies up here in this cold weather, because, boy, they really want a buck. Not this track right here, but another one we had at Madison. It was so bad that the first race, I think 4 horses fell. Going in the first turn, they come right back. And the second race, I think another 4 or 5 of them fell. They used to have some bad tracks up here. Your hands freeze, and you ain't got no feeling on the reins. You can't tell if you're even pulling them up or not. Yeah, when you go to stop, you don't know if you can get a hold of the reins. Sometimes your hands get so cold. When you go jump off a horse afterwards, it's hard to even get down. It really makes you appreciate getting away from here. After I left here, I started doing really good everywhere I went. I did good about everywhere I went. Yeah. And I was always scared to go to them places.
Yeah.
I never thought I could do any good.
But even if he would like to remember it as an altogether pleasant journey, for Bobby Gaffleone, the jockey's life has not been so easy, neither on nor off the track. He suffered a ruptured spleen when a horse fell on him. Part of his pancreas is missing, removed after an accident. He has suffered broken ribs and a broken collarbone. And even after achieving a measure of financial success, he has had his troubles. After these films were taken, Bobby Gaffleone was convicted on charges of income tax evasion and sentenced to a year in prison. Then, on September 25th, 1979, he pleaded guilty to 2 counts of possession and conspiring to deal in cocaine. He received another 1-year sentence to run concurrently and was imprisoned in the federal penitentiary in Kentucky. Because of the felony conviction, Bobby Gaffleone is barred from racing for life.
It's 36 feet down right. This race is going to be 36 feet. The people around here, they bet amongst each other. They were talking about if a guy bet him 2 to 1, he'd give the guy a foot. So in order for him to win his bet, the horse has got to win by 2 feet or more. The one guy says that his horse, it takes him 2 jumps to get 36 feet. And he's been watching the other horse, and the other horse is supposed to have to take 3 jumps. It's a tough bet. It's a tough bet. It's like picking a winner out of a field of about 15, you know. The one guy who owns the horse is a millionaire, and the guys who own the filly are poor people. And the guy with all the money went to him and more or less laughed at him. Says, the only way I'm going to run your horse for $5,000, which probably he didn't think that the people could come up with that kind of money. So what they did, everybody in the family just put up a little bit of money until they got the 5,000 together. And it's a case of the little guy winning. It's like buying Seattle Slew or something for $10 and wind up with millions. You know, that's what happened here today. The little guy got lucky, you know.
It is a long way from Abbeville, Louisiana, and Fauner Park, Nebraska, to the Kentucky Derby. And as we shall see, even those jockeys who bridge that yawning gap have no guarantees. There is no such thing as resting on your laurels in race riding. For one jockey in particular, a 19-year-old phenomenon named Ronnie Franklin, not even a mount on what might be the greatest horse of all time was insurance against losing and against near tragedy.
The difference between mediocre or good and great is not a lot. It's small things, but they're very, very important. Judge a pace, good hands, good seat, knowing where you're at during the race, knowing when to make a move, knowing your horse's ability and his personality, what, you know, how the horse wants to run. It's all these things and more.
Is there a mystique to being a successful jockey? A peculiar ability? An innate quality that only a handful possess? Serious students of horse racing believe there is. They say horses run better for better jockeys, that it is no accident that mounts young Steve Coffin rode in 1977 earned a record $6 million. But even among the better jockeys, ability is confusing and difficult to evaluate. Jockeys are only half joking when they say that the horse gets credit for the victory, the jockey for defeat.
A great jockey can't make a bad horse win.
Horses make a rider. I don't care what nobody says.
Horse is the biggest part of it. You ride good horses, that makes you ride good. But you got to have some talent to go along with it.
A lot of races are won by this far, and if the jockey makes that much difference, it's a big difference.
Some of the things that separate the good jockey from the ordinary jockey are routine, almost mechanical qualities. How well they sit on a horse, how well they understand pace. Do they leave the gate on time? Can they switch the whip and position the horse? Do they have a clock in their head telling them when to make the right move? The very best jockeys, says Willie Shoemaker, go beyond the mechanics. It is an inborn thing they have, he says, something that invariably makes a horse run well. The good ones, like Angel Cordero, sing to their horses and get them to listen. The good ones, like Steve Cawthon, feel a horse through their hands and create a kind of seamless partnership. The jockey flowing with the horse, being his mind as well as his movement. But all of the better jockeys have two things in common. They are not afraid, and they are willing to work to learn. Although their own skills are sharpened on horseback, jockeys are an essential part of the training of the horse itself. They develop as the horse develops. It cannot be done separately. In the afternoon, they race horses, but in the morning, they work them, learning idiosyncrasies and getting used to personalities. For the conscientious jockey, there is little time for anything else. There are few schools for jockeys. They're schools of the tracks. Their days begin and end here, sun up to sundown.
It's a long day sometimes, but sometimes you enjoy, sometimes you go home mad, but the next day you get up early and you forget about what happened yesterday.
Dedicated riders like Jacinto Vasquez are never far from a ring.
When I get on a horse, I think I've got as good opinions, a lot of trainers around. I can tell more getting on a horse and pinpoints the problems a horse got better than a trainer could do it just looking at a horse. You learn things, you make mistakes, and you're trying to correct it the next day, and it's a challenge every day.
If he had his way, Craig Perrette would be nowhere else but at the track.
I feel much better riding in the afternoon when I come out in the morning. Maybe, I'll come out in the morning and might not never get on any. But your people like to see you out and show the interest. It's nice to come out just to talk to them. This is really the only thing left for me, is people here. It's all I know is these people. And outside this gate, it's just another world.
In between the workouts and the racing, there are trainers to talk with and scheme with and be criticized by.
I got to get back to the barn. Stevie, I'll see you later.
I'll talk to you later.
Okay,
I gotta run.
All right, bye-bye.
I'll see you later. Okay.
And there are agents to deal with. Agents who plot their careers like entries on a wall graph.
On him, on that race there. And you have the first call. Right. Okay, we're straightened out for the week now. Here's one for Brown. Let's put him in here. All right.
The jockey must make his own way in this rigid, highly structured environment. The jockey can make himself and break himself, as Ronnie Franklin found out in 1979. The horse's name is Spectacular Bid, owned by a prominent Maryland family named Meyerhoff. The trainer is Bud Delp, who believes Spectacular Bid is the greatest horse that ever lived.
Right. You know exactly what to do. Yeah, exactly. Do it.
The jockey is Ronnie Franklin. Together, they became the horse racing story of the year in 1979. An almost melodramatic series of events that included triumph and defeat, sensational ups and abysmal, gut-wrenching downs.
Hi, Jeff. Hello.
When he first started breezing horses, I knew horses were going to run like crazy for him. It was in his hands. It was the way he moved on a horse, and he looked bad, looked like a muck sack. And I'm clocking these horses, and they're going fast in the morning. And I know my horses, they're not supposed to be fast horses. So I said, well, if we can get him looking better, he'll be all right.
Where the clock is 48. I think he had to go a little better than
The
that.
story and the controversy that spiced it revolved around the man-child Franklin. Youngest of 6 children of a Baltimore blue-collar worker, Franklin was a high school dropout who came into Trainer Delp's life as a 16-year-old hot walker, hanging around the track in Baltimore hoping for a chance to ride. In time, Franklin was taken into the Delp family to be tutored in the riding business by an expert and to live with the expert's sons, literally to eat, drink, and sleep horse racing.
I don't care what's in the form. Ronnie worked him. Ronnie worked him 3/4 and 1/13 length, wasn't it? Yeah. You think he's ready to go on?
Yeah, he's ready.
Okay, I'm going to send a couple bucks over on both sides. See that? He beat me 6 straight games and got even. And I was so mad. But we keep it as a family. We play poker, and Ronnie's learned how to do all those things. He'll never be a sucker in a pool game, or he'll never be a sucker in a poker game, because he knows how to play the game.
Mm-hmm. I learned the hard way.
He's got the two. You learned the hard way, baloney.
Now, stand. Like that.
In time, Franklin became competent enough not only to ride Delp's horses, but to win on them. Franklin was Apprentice Jockey of the Year in 1978. He won 262 races, approximately 80% of them on horses trained by Bud Delp.
I've got a lot of horses. I want the most out of each one of them. And the way to get the most out of each one of them is the proper way. If I have a groom that's not doing the job, down the road. If I have a hot walker not doing a job, and it's going to cost me, down the road. Same way with the jockey. If it's going to cost me, down the road. Ronnie Franklin has great potential. He will reach greatness, and it won't be long. As soon as he knows he's great. As soon as he knows it, that's when he's going to be that.
The words Bud Delp used were down the road. That's where he said you must send the jockey who does not perform. As it turned out, that is pretty much where he finally sent Ronnie Franklin. But it was only after Franklin got himself going in that direction. The unraveling of the Franklin Delp story began here at the finish line of the Florida Derby at Gulfstream Park near Miami. The Florida Derby is a prelude to the Triple Crown, and Spectacular Bid was far and away the Triple Crown favorite. As it turned out, the horse under Franklin went on to win 2 legs of that Triple Crown, the Kentucky Derby and the Preakness, but he lost the Belmont, and it was here at Gulfstream Park that the controversy began. As expected, Spectacular Bid won the Florida Derby, but in a totally unexpected way. Franklin's ride that day was spectacular, all right, but not in the manner he would have liked. Why do jockeys ride, risking their necks day after day? Well, for one thing, of course, the money. The rewards for the very best jockeys can be breathtaking. Sandy Hawley's mounts won $17 million over an 8-year period. If all he got from that was the customary 10%, Sandy Hawley made his fortune. Angel Cordero rode horses that earned a record $4,700,000 in 1976. Steve Cawthon, the boy wonder, broke that record the following year on mounts that won more than $6 million. But money alone does not keep jockeys like these in the saddle. Jockeys like Willie Shoemaker, who has ridden 7,500 winners, and at age 47 is still riding. The very best jockeys ride for those splendid moments when they can compete in the biggest races against the very best competition. When they can be in a contest loaded with drama and importance. The Florida Derby is such an event, and one that was certainly loaded with drama for young Ronnie Franklin in 1979.
In the middle. You got it.
He rode a bad dang gone race. I mean, he messed up something awful. I mean, he knew he messed up, and he knew that there may be an excellent chance that he may never sit on him, because that's what I told him right over here in front of everybody. I said, you may never sit on this horse again as long as you got, well, I'm not going to say what I said.
Come on. Put my hand out of the way.
Velasquez is 15, 20 feet off the rail. Ronnie's had been way back, and here's Spell and McHarg up here, and they're off of the fence. They're sitting out here where you could have driven a Mack truck through there. Well, he headed there. Now Ronnie's thinking, do I go or do I steady? If I go and they keep coming over, this colt's going to hit the rail. So he eased him in there and did a good job. I mean, he came out of there nicely. He didn't stand up on him to snatch him up. He eased him out of there. Should have never been there in the first place. Should have done what I said before. Just sat and waited till they broke the turn. Velasquez is not going to be parked 20 feet off the rail going around this turn. So he's going to drop in, then he can just lose a little ground, go around him. Of course, the horse, being the great horse that he is, accelerated when Ronnie asked him again to go outside. And then the race was over.
The Florida Derby was a brutal lesson for Ronnie Franklin. He learned something new about notoriety, that when you lift your head up above the crowd, you can win and still be thought of as a loser.
He didn't stay for the ceremonies in the winner's circle. And I was doing all the talking. He didn't say a word. He was just sitting at attention on that horse's back, and I was giving him hell. Well, yeah, I wanted to take him off that horse and make him disappear. That's what I wanted to do.
Ronnie, come on over here. Sácate una con él. Ahora, Ronnie, come on.
Franklin knew he had ridden poorly. Delp had told him so, but he really didn't have to be told.
So, Franklin, you rode in good. Congratulations. You got the money.
You don't know? Yeah, you got it. Yeah, you got a pretty hectic night. 20,000 in a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
Right, you can handle it. Straighten up. Done 20,000.
Bud Delp called a press conference after the Florida Derby to reaffirm his faith in Ronnie Franklin. Franklin would ride spectacular bids in the Flamingo 6.
Was there any other trouble during the race? I mean, after the whole...
Franklin, great potential, dedicated, loves his work. Rookie of the Year in 1978. Can't miss going all the way to the top. Everyone that knows Ronnie admires him. Everyone in the Delp organization, from Maryland to Florida, loves Ronnie Franklin. The primary thought has always been what is in the horse's best interest. The horse obviously runs very well for Ronnie Franklin. They have an affinity for each other. Ronnie is a good jockey on his way to being a great one. We therefore have decided to continue to ride Ronnie in all of Spectacular Bid's races. We would like to thank all of the other jockeys for their interest and good wishes.
Hey, loosen up, Ronnie. It's going to be a cakewalk, man.
Spectacular Bid won the Flamingo. Franklin seemed vindicated. It was evident that both he and Delp thought so. The next stop was the Bluegrass Stakes at Keeneland in Kentucky. Spectacular Bid flew north by special charter, a $14,000 plane ride for a superstar. Trainer Delp went along for the ride. Jockey Franklin drove to Lexington by automobile.
They broke out of the gate, and he broke pretty sharp. He stayed right with the pack. They was all bunched up going around the first turn, and everything was good. He made the lead straightening down the back stretch, and just went on from there. Did what he had to do.
Victory in the Bluegrass was to be followed by a convincing triumph in the Kentucky Derby.
See you in the winner's circle, Derby Day.
Although Franklin was not credited with an especially brilliant ride, it was clear enough he was on a horse that was going to take him to the Triple Crown. Flying Paster, the challenger from the West Coast, was no match for Spectacular Bid in the Derby, but he remained the horse Franklin had to beat in the Preakness.
We got one horse to beat, Flying Paster, and he can run, so I think we can beat him still, though.
He could be as good as Secretary. If he is, this is going to be a hell of a horse race.
The questions raised about Jockey Franklin's abilities seemed to have been permanently set aside as the time neared for the running of the Preakness, the second leg of the Triple Crown.
So there you are, the Derby trophy, and for Bud.
The Meyerhoff family and Bud Delp were centers of attention at Pimlico. But Ronnie Franklin was a star there also. Pimlico is in Baltimore, Ronnie Franklin's home. He would be riding before adoring friends and loving family.
Number 2, Spectacular Bid, the rider Ronald J. Franklin.
Ronnie, you're gonna win! Ronnie!
Hey! Ronnie, you want to look this horse?
He's gonna win the Triple Crown. He's great. He's great as well. You know, he always wanted to be a jockey. When he realized that he wasn't going to grow or anything, he wanted to be a jockey. And we would always tease him about it and all, but and wish him well when he come to work here at Pimlico 2 years ago, you know. We just couldn't wait. Well, Ron, when are you going to be a jockey? When are you going to be a jockey?
Harry and Teresa Meyerhoff and Harry's son, Tom, co-owners of Spectacular Bid, exulted along with Delp as Spectacular Bid crossed the finish line, an easy winner at the Preakness. Now only the Belmont remained to complete the Triple Crown.
Where do you think he moved the best for you?
At the half-mile pole and on Harry. He ran a great half a mile, he did, the last fight.
When you hit the last quarter of a mile, it's just a matter of how much?
Right, just a matter of how far. We just got to playing again in front. I got to
Swim and run.
A jockey's stock rises and falls dramatically. On the same day he hears the cheers for finishing first in a race, he is liable to have to walk back to his quarters through a barrage of hot dog buns and paper cups for finishing third in another. Third was where Franklin finished in the Belmont. That day in New York, Ronnie Franklin's personal stock market took a precipitous fall.
Never seen anything like it. Never seen anything like it.
I learned that if you're sitting on a good horse, just get him clear and let him do his thing. I just try, you know. It's nothing more you can do but try and hope they make it home with you. If you got enough force to do it with, you got to kind of keep it cool and ride your race. Sometimes you can lose a race if you're over anxious.
Spectacular Bid took the lead as the horses passed the half-mile pole. But in the last turn, for whatever reason, an injured foot was blamed, a poorly conceived race was blamed, the great horse began to fade. In the stretch, no amount of urging from Ronnie Franklin could help Spectacular Bid turn back his challengers. Coastal, ridden by Ruben Hernandez, passed him on the way to victory, and so did Golden Act.
You're only as good as your last performance. You can win 40 races for a trainer. They got 50 horses, and you ride a bad horse for them, and they don't like the way you rode that horse. They take you off for the rest of the stable, and they forget about the 40 winners you rode. They only concentrate on losing.
So it was that Ruben Hernandez, and not Jockey Franklin, experienced a winner's joy at Belmont. The contrast was something akin to what jockeys experience almost every day. Delp did not blame Franklin for the defeat, but there were doubts and recollections of what had happened in Florida some weeks before. Alas, Franklin's troubles were just beginning. In California, on a brief vacation, Franklin was arrested in the parking lot at Disneyland and charged with possession of cocaine. He admitted his guilt. At about the same time, a young woman back east filed a paternity suit against him. Franklin blamed it on his youthful notoriety. "It's just that I have a little bit of money now," he said.
Is it a numb feeling right now, Ron? I mean, just something you can't believe, really?
I guess I feel like crying, but I'm not going to.
After his arrest, the Meyerhoffs met with Delp and announced that they were taking Franklin off Spectacular Bid. Delp once more came to Franklin's defense, even as he was imposing the penalty. He said, "The boy needs a chance to grow up a little less spectacularly." Franklin said he was relieved. He said Delp put it to him straight when they got home, that if it wasn't for racing, Ronnie Franklin would be lucky to earn $60 a week.
You can get high and you can get low, but you can always climb back up the ladder again. I mean, once you go down, it doesn't mean you have to stay down.
Thoroughbred horses raced so that people might bet. For all the trappings of affluence around the track, for all the genteel talk of breeding, the sport of kings boils down to that, a betting game. When jockeys ride horses, money rides with them, and when money rides on anything, the threat of conspiracy is never far away. The horse carries the jockey, but it's the jockey who carries the burden of keeping their partnership on the up and up. He is the thinking member. By large, jockeys fare well in the public trust. They are, after all, carefully scrutinized and rigidly disciplined by the industry itself. But there is always a segment of the wagering public that does not trust them. This distrust is not helped any by the periodic scandals that crop up in the sport. But scandals are actually few and far between. For so large and so vulnerable a business, horse racing has a remarkably clean record. But when corruption occurs, it gets maximum publicity. In recent months, organized crime has been linked to alleged race fixing in 6 states. Trials have been held, sentences levied, and jockeys have been implicated in the media, some of them among the biggest names in the business. The fact that jockeys can, and sometimes have, altered the course of a horse race is irrefutable. Whether or not it is a common practice, and where and when the alterations take place is not easy to tell. Around racetracks, talk of fixes is almost taboo. Jockeys themselves are not inclined to discuss the matter, but some do.
Oh, yes, I heard about a lot of scandals, but I really don't know anything about them. You know, I don't think they would come to a girl, I don't know, because, you know, a lot of people do ride me because they feel that I'm honest.
We were down to Hot Springs one time, and the guy, this was in the 40s, when 500 was like 5,000. The guy coming offered me 500, and I wouldn't take it. I went ahead and win the race. The guy bought me a pair of boots.
Yeah.
That's all I got out of it.
There's ways to do it, to get horses beat without anybody knowing about it. Jock can take hold of the left rein, and hold that back and be hitting him with his right hand. And there's a lot of ways they can do it. They can be hitting him left-handed and slowing him down with the other hand. You know, if you're a pro, you know, and you're in the game a long time, it's easy, and a naked eye or binoculars can see it. Not if you're really great at it.
I'm sure, I mean, if there was anything done, that when you're starting out riding, you don't know nothing about it. I mean, you know, you're just out there wanting to ride and win, and they might be betting on you and you winning the last race all the time, you know, and you think, man, I'm doing some good. They might be letting you. That's fine. I mean, it didn't make no difference to the bug rider at the time.
Unless he was winning.
That's right. He didn't even know. I'll guarantee you half of them didn't.
Because I know I went 22 races up there
Well, a guy come approach your bug boy.
in less than 2 months. 2 months, and one of the jocks said to me, "Oh, yeah, we just put you on the lead, you know." And I kept thinking about it, and I was saying, nah, they couldn't have. And then I kept thinking, and then I started feeling bad about it, you know. Yeah, you know, I started thinking, maybe these guys just was putting me on the lead. So you don't really know. You're just out there doing what you want to do.
What about that time at Lincoln? That colt you was riding that tried to blow the turns, and I went head and head with you on a dude and held you in. And I ended up beating you. We're walking back across the racetrack, and they was throwing pop bottles in the Remember that?
Yeah.
Because they thought you put the arm on him.
Yeah, so I stopped him.
Jockeys fixing races I have no use for. They should get the maximum penalty prescribed if they are guilty. I don't go for that. I don't go for that. No.
There are other alien influences that can affect the course of a horse race, and the most serious has nothing to do with jockeys, except that it makes their lives infinitely more perilous. The legal use of drugs on horses is a widespread practice in racing. Permissive medication laws in many states have made it possible for horses to run in drug condition, their pain and injuries masked by analgesics. The result in some areas is inferior racing stock. Lame and sore and worn-out horses are allowed to run. But with increased pressure for more racing, for more horses to go on the tracks year-round, came an increased potential not only for the altering of the course of races, but for the danger to jockeys. It is, after all, the jockey who pays when an unsound animal snaps a leg and falls.
With no medication, a horse will feel it and slow down before he breaks down. When there's too much medication in the horse, then he doesn't feel it, and he just keep going, even when it starts cracking. Before you know that, he put his foot down where there's no foot there. Sometimes you'll have some trainers come out and say, hey, Ronnie, I want you to work this horse for me. So I go over and work the horse, and he says, now, is there anything wrong with that horse? I said, no. Not that I can see. I said, oh, see now, this jock telling me that this horse is sore. Well, I said, I don't know. I don't know what you got him on, but I said, he's not sore today, you know. So he said, well, you ride him? I said, yeah, I'll ride him. So you get on him in the afternoon, he can't walk. So he was drugged so much in the morning that he never felt a thing, and you really couldn't tell, you know. You can't tell the man his horse is sore if he's not sore. But in the afternoon, he's not the same horse you work in the morning.
But no matter how much chemistry is involved, for better or worse, the frightening potential of a horse breaking down under them is not lost on jockeys. The danger is part of their vocabulary.
I'll enjoy the job, and this business is a dangerous business, and as long as you can get up in the morning and do it the next day, you accomplish a lot, because you can get hurt and be able not to work. And it's a challenge to be every day in this business.
It's like you're taking your chances every time you go out there.
There was 2 races today, 3 races. 2 out of 3, something like that.
Well, I still got 2 more to go. How do you think I feel? And one of them on the turf. I'm scared to death.
He's got to be tough. Yeah, he can't be timid. He can't be timid. No, he can't. There's no place for that here.
Horses break down for natural causes, too. They suffer heart attacks. They break limbs. But the peril that most disturbs jockeys is the one they bring to the game themselves. Rough, careless riding that in a twinkling can cause accidents that maim and kill.
There are jockeys that do things that can hurt other riders by rough riding, careless riding, not paying attention, just burying their head in the mane and just go to whipping and let their horse wander all over the track.
And you got other riders that they call bug boys like me, that's a little greener than me, that's only spent 6 months learning how to gallop horses. You know, riding races and dropping in on riders and switching sticks and smacking them upside the head. And, you know, stuff like that. Then you get other riders upset up against, you know. And when you ask them to let, you know, coming through such and such, they give you the old wobble, you know. Won't let you through there.
Oh, during the race, I was pretty mad, you know. I mean, geez, these things shouldn't be happening, you know. It's a professional game. I should know where they're going. Around by the 3/8 pole, I got pinched out a little bit again. But I finished 5th, and I could have been in the money. I probably could even have won it. wasn't beat that far.
I try to watch out for the riders more than anything, you know. That's the whole thing, keeping the other riders safe and yourself, you know. You got 1,000 pounds of horse under you. You can run over anybody with that much. But you can hurt yourself. So you just have to take it easy.
It's very competitive, you know. But after you're back here, they go out there riding. When you ride it, it's very competitive because everybody wants to win, and you do everything you can to win. And no matter what it is, every little bit of thing you do helps.
You know, in this business, ride a horse, sometimes you got to look out for your own life instead of somebody else. And I used to try too hard and used to make a lot of mistakes.
Like what, bumping somebody?
Bumping somebody, trying to get through and a hole is not there, and cause some trouble to somebody else, put somebody else's life in jeopardy and things like that.
If they're doing something that's going to get them hurt, it generally will wind up getting other people hurt too. So, you know, you go over to them and you tell them, you know, look, I like you, I don't want you to get killed, and I really don't want to get killed myself.
See, look at that. See?
Fortunately, there are ways to deal with Rough Riders. They face the judgment of their peers, the stewards, and sometimes they are punished.
There was a steward's inquiry and an objection lodged by Jockey Vergara, Strider 6. And all concerned the winner, number 1, Spirit of Fun, ridden by Ronnie Franklin. He does come out once at the 3/16 pole, and again at the 8th pole. And Ronnie, you're coming out, once you come out at the top of the stretch, and then again when you come out and cause a serious problem, it's on the left-hand whip. In fact, both times on the left-hand whip. So we'll take a look at it. Whenever you're ready.
In other cases, I think I would have pulled my horse off, you know. Usually I do. I don't know why I didn't do it yesterday. If something like that happens, I'll take a hold of my horse, but I just kind of kept riding him yesterday. I caused the trouble for the other jocks, and now I got to pay. I know where I'm at in the race. I know what's going to happen in a race, and I know how to look at a race. The only thing that can happen to me is if a horse breaks his leg.
Spills either cause from carelessness, you know, or somebody else's carelessness, or just bad-legged horses. They just break their legs and they can't be avoided, you know.
But no matter how they go down or for what reason, it is a certainty that every jockey will go down sooner or later. He must live with that prospect.
Yeah, he stumbled badly and I couldn't stay on it. What he hurt on? He tried to come out too fast out of there and he stumbled. What he hurt on? Oh, he kicked me in my left leg. He kicked my right ankle. Yeah, that's the ankle you hurt before, right? But I'm alive. Yeah, I'm here, hanging on. And you're standing on it. Yeah. So, you'll win some more money. Yeah. That's right.
Most jockeys have been injured, some seriously, some frequently. It is an accepted occupational hazard. A jockey named Larry Adams estimates that he has taken more than 200 falls in his career, and still he rides. The Jockeys Guild presently supports close to 50 riders who will never walk again. Jockeys who are paraplegics as a result of racing accidents. Before this racing season is over, 300 of the 1,600 members of the Jockeys Guild will be injured seriously enough to file insurance claims. In 1978, at a track in Miami, a jockey named George Gomez went down. His injuries hospitalized him for 58 days. On the 58th day, he died. The fallen, bloodied young man is 18-year-old Steve Gaffleone. The man comforting him is his father, jockey Bobby Gatlin.
But it happens so fast, you know. You don't know it. You know you're going down, and you know that you got other horses behind you. But it just like that, you know. As soon as it snaps, you got 1,000 pounds just rushing to the ground.
I just remember running head and head with Solomoni. We was both way back. And my mare just starting to run a little bit. And I don't ever remember falling.
Oh, you're all right.
All right, some water, okay?
Yeah,
Just water.
thank you.
What happened? The horse apparently broke a leg. Okay?
When that horse fell, he broke his leg, he didn't have no chance. If he was careless, I might worry about him.
I don't ever really think about it. I just try to keep it out of my mind.
Steve Gaffleon survived this spill with only minor injuries. Next, a jockey who went down and will never ride again.
Every year on my birthday, I got hurt right here. I just dreaded riding on my birthday.
I had a horse one time with 5 lengths in front and broke his leg, and he went flying. He wound up under the fence. I went flying forward. And then another time I had a horse break down in front of me. You can't avoid them, so you wind up in a pile up.
And going in to the far turn, the horse fell, another horse stepped on him and run. He only had one lung and run a rib through his good lung.
Oh, yeah.
And he's heading head for the lead all the way and turning for home to quarter pole. He's still heading head for the lead, and all of a sudden he started going funny under me. So I reached back and hit him hard. I said, well, you son of a gun, you're not going to start lying now. When I hit him, he just kind of went one way, and I switched, hit him left-handed, and he went the other way. And then all of a sudden I felt his neck getting hard under me. I said, oh, there's something serious here. So this horse is not cheating. Horse was dying under me. The horse died of a heart attack. And we went down about a 316 pole, and he just dropped dead.
Well, it broke the #1 rib underneath the collarbone, broke my foot, smashed 2 discs in my back, which was pinching the nerves that led to my hands and feet, and I didn't have no feelings in my hands and feet for 5 months.
Well, it's just like you're up in the air with an airplane and the engine goes dead under you. You just look for a place to land. You just hope that you're going to land at a soft spot.
Eddie Arcaro was once asked if he had ever been afraid that he would be killed riding horses. Arcaro said he never had. But, he said, I often thought about being paralyzed. Jockeys live on the hairy edge of tragic injury and death in the normal pursuit of their trade. They take risks that the average man will never know. They try not to think about it. Jockeys who have fallen say if you think about it, you will never go back out again. Good jockeys react to falls with a fierce determination not to let it affect them.
If you enjoy what you're doing enough, yeah, you know, the risk doesn't seem so much, I don't think. I mean, I would never ride if I didn't enjoy it because it wouldn't be worth it to me.
When a colt named Bay Streak broke down under Steve Cawthon in 1977, Cawthon sustained a concussion, a broken wrist, broken ribs, 2 broken fingers, and lacerations on his face and arms. Doctors said he would be hospitalized 6 weeks. He was back riding in 4.
I was off a month. The first 2 weeks, I just couldn't hardly move. Then I started feeling pretty good. I got out of my cast, and it just so happened that the Belmont was on that day, and I was watching that, and after I watched that race, from then on, I was just like a hunger to get back to the races.
Until the middle of 1978, Ron Turcotte was well on his way to being recognized as one of the greatest jockeys of all time. He had won more than 3,000 races. His mounts had earned in excess of $27 million. One of them, Secretariat, had won a Triple Crown. Ron Turcotte has been in a wheelchair for more than a year. Chances are he will be in it for the rest of his life.
Need a little more muscle.
Get that part.
Okay, wash your hands. There you go.
This is the trophy they give for the Triple Crown, a winning jockey and a winning trainer. The owner gets a bigger one than that. And
9 days before his 37th birthday, on July 13, 1978, Ron Turcotte went up on a horse named Flag of Lady Gulf at a track in New York. He took a spill that paralyzed him from the waist down.
I come out of the gate 20, 30 yards. The inside horse started coming out pretty good. I kept hollering, "Hey, Jeff, Jeff, Jeff." Just didn't pick up his head and just went on out, bumped me, and I went across Watermelon's heels and just went down head first. And as soon as I hit the ground, I knew I was paralyzed. I mean, I reached for air, you know, I knocked the wind out of me, and I just reached, and it's just like my stomach felt like just a water bubble. And as soon as I got the first aid, they asked me to move my feet. And nothing was moving, and they said, well, take him right away to Long Island Jewish Hospital. They took me to Long Island Jewish Hospital, and there they said they couldn't do anything. They'd have to send me to New York University. You know, I felt I was paralyzed. I said, oh, no, can't be, you know. Doctors told me that I'll never walk again, and but I'll be able to do things that I was doing before, and I just might as well laugh in their face and tell them that I wasn't, you know, I didn't break my head, I broke my back. And so far, I didn't get anywhere with any doctor. I went to see a doctor in Canada, and it looked like there's nothing they can do for me right now. They definitely told me I'll be in a wheelchair the rest of my life. But I have hope, and that's what I'm living on.
Ron, best of luck to you, man. Really great.
Lonnie, thanks very much.
You depend on the stewards to punish the people that don't go by the rule. You depend on the vets to have horse racing sound. You depend on trainers to be honest enough with you to put you on a sound enough horse. But you're not assuming carelessness, reckless riding, or a drug horse. Them are risky. You're not assuming when you're going out there to ride. You have to satisfy the owner, the trainer, and you are the last man on the totem pole. I mean, you're the scapegoat. You'll never have a trainer come out and say that he messed it up in the morning. First thing you'll say is that the jock messed it up in the afternoon.
Ron Turcotte is suing the New York Racing Association, jockey Jeffrey Fell, the owners of the horse Fell was riding, 3 stewards, and the Jockey Club for $100 million.
Oh, if I could walk again, I'd give up everything. I'd give up fame and whatever money I made. If there was a way I could walk again.
For all the perils they face, jockeys still relish the chance to ride and to win. They exult in winning. Even from his wheelchair, Ron Turcotte has said that there is nothing more satisfying than winning horse races. He even recommends the jockey's life to those who might be interested and who have the guts and the ability and the size to try.
you see all the widows in the whole world, they're around a racetrack. You see them around. They got doors, they said, to keep people out of here. But they got fences around just to keep the crazy people in.
You gotta be crazy to be.
Sure, you got to be nuts. You can't be rubbed too tight to be in this business. You go nuts.
One in a one shot and taking a kid off at the first race he's gonna ride.
It is indeed a world apart, this world of jockeys. It is more dangerous and less understood than any other sport. It is wonderfully exciting and terribly restricting. It is vigorous and incongruous. It is confusing, often contradictory, and virtually impossible for us outsiders to fully understand. It is a world, in fact, that only a very few can even hope to enter.
Very high. Very high. Don't drop it, man. Oh, Jesus. Larry,
Hey, how many more, will you?
Jacinto Vasquez said it was a crazy game. No. What Vasquez said was, you have to be crazy to be a jockey. Well, maybe. But you have to be a lot more than that. Or a lot less.
Hey, give me a break. Hey, Trevor, you look mighty sharp. How you doing, son? Come on. Hey, Stitch.
Boys, let's go. It's rough. The last day of racing is really rough.
Number 3,
We
Judge.
get over to Hialeah, we gotta straighten up there, Jim. All this stuff's gotta go back just like it is now. It's murder. But we like it.
Oh, looks like this race we're going to stand around with each other.
Let's go, riders.
Hey, come on. Hey, come on. Watch your breath now.
Hit our loader, don't hit our loader.
See you mañana.
Bush, you'll see you.